Hey guys, welcome back to another Genshin Impact video, and for today I want to make a guide on how to farm character experience. Not to be confused with adventure rank experience, but the actual EXP your characters get to level up. Almost 2 weeks ago, I made a guide on how to farm Mora, and I figured I should make a guide also on character experience because just like Mora, experience seems to be in large abundance early on in the game, but as you get further and further in, it starts to get drastically harder, usually around level 60 plus. That's when you need not only crazy amounts of Mora, but also crazy amounts of experience. So for today, I'm going to show you all the ways you can get character experience for you players who are struggling to get to level 70 and above. But before I do, I want to first address a quick disclaimer. The thumbnail says how to farm character experience, but I think that's a little bit misleading. In reality, almost all the things I talk about are not exactly farmable in the sense that there's only a limited amount of them throughout the game. This was a source of criticism in my How to Farm Mora video because a lot of people called me out on the sort of incorrect thumbnail title, especially when half the methods to farm Mora were exhaustive, and so for that I would like to apologize. This thumbnail was made roughly around the same time the Mora one was, and since I don't make my thumbnails, I commissioned my friend to, I can't really change it. But I hope that this video is still helpful for those who need it, because whether you can infinitely farm them or not, this video should still do its job for helping you find out all the methods to picking up experience. So let's get started. When you think of character experience, the first thing that comes to mind usually is to grind mobs over and over like you would in almost any other RPG. Not so much the case when it comes to Genshin. You get almost no experience from farming mobs, so the only real way to level up is through experience books, and there are 3 types. Wanderer's Advice, Adventurer's Experience, and Hero's Wit, which gives 1,000, 5,000, and 20,000 experience respectively. Experience in this game is very scarce as a result of this, and there have been a lot of players who made the mistake of trying to level up too many units at once. It's not their fault, that's sort of the natural inclination for most players for most games. If you're a free-to-play player, there's only really enough experience to get 5 or 6 characters to level 80. Why the game is like that I have no idea, but either way, so long as you don't carelessly waste your EXP books, you should be able to progress comfortably, so it's nothing really to lose sleep over. So first, let's go over all the one-time sources just like last time, and Spiral Abyss will be number 1 on the list. I know I've given the explanation for this so many times over and you're probably getting sick of it, but if you haven't done Spiral Abyss already, you should. You can only get the chamber rewards once, but if you're able to get all the way up to 10-3, there'll be a ton of experience books waiting for you. But since 10-3 is really hard to get to, even if you're able to complete maybe the first 8 floors, which most people can do by AR 30 to 35, even as free to play, that should hook you up with enough experience to probably level up one character from 60 to 70. Unfortunately, the star rewards that give Primo Gems and Mora that do refresh, I believe, bi-weekly, do not give experience books either, because then it would be a sort of consistent way to farm for resources, but Spiral Abyss is still a viable one-time option if you haven't been working on it yet. The next one is to complete every quest you possibly can. This includes Archon quests, character story quests, even world quests. Head on over to the wiki page down in the video description to find every quest you can complete. The Archon quests give you huge amounts of experience, but if you haven't been roaming around finding NPCs that give you quests for various things here and there, you are missing out on a ton of free character EXP. And when 1.1 comes out on November 11th, it's likely that more quests will be added, since I'm betting there will be more of the world map to explore by then. So if you're watching this in version 1.1 or anywhere in the future, you should look out for any NPC that has something for you to do, because the more of the world available, the more there is going to be that you have to do. Quests automatically show up on your minimap if you're near the NPC that gives them out, but in order for them to stay on your quest tab, you have to go and interact with the NPC. Genshin doesn't have an in-game directory that tells you every single quest available at a time. You're just gonna have to find them yourself by wandering around and waiting for an NPC to show up on your world map. You might think this next method is too much work for only a few thousand experience, but it definitely beats farming a domain over and over again, and you're gonna have to do it eventually. Look for chests. At the time this video is released, chests do not respawn, at least not the high-tiered ones. To my knowledge, common chests do respawn in random locations at inconsistent times. Exquisite, precious, and luxurious chests do not. That being said, they're the second most reliable way to get a lot of character experience because each chest can net you several 2 or 3 star books. Hero's Wits can only drop from precious and luxurious chests, but even those give you about 1 to 3 of them. There are literally hundreds of chests sprawled all over Mondstadt and Liyue, and if you're watching this video several months or even years into the game, then there's gonna be even more when Inazuma, Sumeru, Fontaine, Natlan, and Snezhnaya come out, at which point there's gonna be like tens of thousands of chests in the game. Although by then, MiHoYo might just release a domain or some repeatable thing to farm experience books, but just to let you know ahead of time. Based on my experience, it took me a combined total of about 15 to 20 hours to collect about 1,000, and if there's currently 1,200 chests, I think, you can probably get all of them just by meticulously combing the world for about 24 total hours. Just make sure to space it out, don't want to go exploring for 24 hours straight, you'll just go insane. During this time, you'll likely run into NPCs that give you quests, so that way you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, also just the amount of AR experience you'll be getting. Not to mention, the mobs and world bosses that you'll be fighting along the way will give you ascension materials and whatnot. Okay, so the last one-time source is your Adventurer's Handbook. Certain quests provide you with a nice helping of experience books in both individual achievements and the chapter rewards. Combined in total, you'll be able to get, I believe, 80 Heroes Wits, which won't get you very far in the grand scheme of things, but since you are going to be doing this anyway, it's good to make note of it if you haven't completed your handbook by now. Although you won't finish it until AR 40 anyway, so it's more of a long-term thing, but just make sure that if you've been neglecting it after you reach like AR 20, then consider looking at it again. So all the one-time sources out of the way, let's get into the ones that you can repeatedly farm to some extent. Technically speaking, once again, there's no source of infinite content in Genshin Impact because it was designed as a gacha game despite being available on multiple platforms. Everything is either one-time only or locked by some limitations such as time or resin. Basically time. Leyline Outcrops are really the only reliably consistent source of experience in the game. Starting at AR 35, you'll get 6 to 7 Adventurers experience and 2 to 3 Heroes Wit. The Heroes Wit increases to 4 to 5 by AR 45. In other words, a full day's resin, which is 180 resin. If you spend all of it on Leylines, you can get about 30 Heroes Wits and 60 Adventurers experience. Not bad at all. I wouldn't recommend spending your resin on experience outcrops until AR 35 though, at the very least, because that's when you start getting Heroes Wit. But even for a free-to-play player, you shouldn't really need to farm outcrops before then anyway. It's only by like AR 40 that you need to start collecting these, especially when getting ready to level up characters to 90. And once you've exhausted all the one-time sources, this is literally the only readily available source of character experience for free-to-play players, so needless to say, this game is really unforgiving when it comes to experience books. Alright, the next one is the Battle Pass, and again, if you're willing to purchase the Gnostic hymn, you'll get a lot more mileage than just the Sojourner's Battle Pass. If you're still uncertain about whether or not it's worth spending for the extra rewards, $20 USD is only about I think 10 pulls, and I personally think it's better to get lots of Mora, character experience, enhancement ores, which are very valuable in the late game, than a random 4-star unit that probably isn't going to be good anyway. Besides, the Battle Pass itself does give you 5 event summons and 5 regular summons anyway, so it's basically a better purchase. So if you're still wondering if the Battle Pass is worth it, a lot of people initially thought it wasn't, but in my opinion now it actually very much is. Anyways, the Battle Pass lasts roughly about 2-ish months, so it's not the most farmable thing out there, but at least it's something you can work towards on a daily and weekly basis to eventually get some nice rewards. And starting BP level 30, you'll be picking up 15 to 20 Heroes Wits every 3 levels, which does add up, it gets substantial as you go on. If you don't purchase Gnostic hymn, I still highly suggest you work on the Battle Pass anyway because it is free rewards. I'm not sure if every Battle Pass will have the same rewards or if it will get better or worse, but if the next one has the same ones, then I'm personally going to buy Gnostic hymn again. At least to me it's a much better deal than Pulse. The next one is in Paimon's Bargains. It takes a decent amount of Masterless Stardust, but I'm sure even free-to-play players can afford a little bit if they budget properly. You can buy 300 Adventures experience from the shop, so that's 1.5 million experience you can get for 800 Stardust, which I believe is 45 pulls. Okay, never mind. Maybe it might not be that available for free-to-play players, but you can still get maybe half of them by farming the free Primo Gems and pulls you earn each month. And last but not least, this isn't exactly a farmable method, but for those of you who are intending on spending money on the game, you can also consider purchasing the 2 bundles within the gift shop for 1280 Genesis crystals, which I believe is about 15 bucks a week. Again, it largely depends on whether or not you're a whale or dolphin, because to some people, it looks like a total ripoff, and I agree it's nowhere near the price to product value of the Battle Pass, but again, it all depends on how much you think you can get out of pulling 8 units. However, I do not recommend you buy these if you're AR 35 or higher, because you can get the same amount of Heroes Wits by simply farming the ley lines and refreshing with resin like maybe 3 times, which I believe only costs 250 Primo Gems versus practically spending about 1,000 for the same amount. Not to mention it gives very little else, but for players who do have a lot of disposable income, this is a bonus option. I don't recommend it for players who are budgeting, but I'm just listing it here for the sake of consistency. So after spending about, like 7 to 9 minutes telling you all the methods to farm experience, the only one that you can do that isn't time locked or one time only is just the Leyline Outcrop. And even then you can't really do that endlessly because you can only refresh resin so many times a day. But hopefully this video was helpful in letting you know all the sources of character experience. It's just one of those things where you have to save up over a couple days or a week before you can cash out on a character. If this is the first video you watched about EXP and you made the mistake of leveling up too many different units at once, my suggestion is to focus primarily on leveling up your main DPS and then your main support. So check out my other guides for more information on the game if you still need it. If you're still a little confused after this video, I'll have a bunch of links in the description below if you want to have some more material to reference. And if I missed any important source of XP, please let me know in the comment section so everyone else can be aware of it. But guys, if you'd like to support my channel, best way you can do so is leave a like, comment, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for future uploads. Be sure to check out my Discord server if you want to play and chat with other members, and don't forget to follow me on Twitch to catch my live streams. But for now, that's going to be it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon for the next video. Take care.